Hey everybody, Madison here with Health by Ratio. My team and I, consisting of licensed physical therapists, corrective exercise specialists, strength and conditioning coaches, and functional health coaches, work together to create customized programs for our clients to bridge the gaps between injury rehabilitation and prevention and move them toward functional fitness and or athletics, depending on what their goals are, and everywhere in between. So that's our mission. And today we're going to be talking about and covering a 5-minute dynamic warm-up to get our bodies ready to enjoy whatever activities we have on the docket for it. So this is really functional for if we, especially after we've spent the day sitting in front of our devices, our computer, driving, that kind of stuff. Well, we need to prepare this body to move the ways that we want to so that it's ready to perform at as high of a level as it can, and so that it's not so locked up and asymmetrical where we might be noticing a potential for injury or re-aggravation of an injury, etc. And this came up for two reasons. One, this topic is we wanted to cover it because we're about to start a 3-day back-to-back 3-video series on how to prevent and rehabilitate any injury while getting the most out of your workout. So still being able to pursue your fitness goals whilst being able to heal from a nagging injury and preventing those from occurring. So we're about to do that in 3 parts, but first we want to go over how to warm the body up, because this is one of the most integral parts in setting us up for success around our forms of exercise. And when I say dynamic warm up, I'm talking about moving in and out of dynamic ranges of motion. So we're going to move in and out of certain exercises / stretches. They're kind of a blending of the two that are going to get us moving into full ranges of motion. Now, I just had a conversation with one of our newer clients who loves to play paddle tennis and golf. And he's dealing with some bulge discs in his lumbar and creates obviously a lot of pain and soreness around a job that is desk bound for him. And before he plays golf or paddle tennis, I was asking him, do you do a dynamic warm-up of any kind? Do you loosen up the body? And he's like, yeah, I get out onto the range and I do some, I hit a few golf balls, or I get to the court 5-10 minutes early and we hit the ball back and forth. I'm like, no. That's not a dynamic warm-up. That's like a runner saying like, well, I jogged like at a slow pace for a half mile as my warm-up. No. We're talking about actually doing stretches and ranges of motion and going through ranges of motion that activate our glutes and our core in ways that are going to wake them up for the activity that we're going to do and loosen up our body to counterbalance any stiffness that's going to be counterproductive to the activities that we do. And at worst, going to throw us out of alignment to a point where we're going to re-aggravate an old injury or get something new pop up because our joints and tissue aren't functioning the way that they should. So without further ado, let's get rolling into our dynamic warm-up. So this is 3 exercises that we're going to bust out, and all we need, and if you don't have this, is not the end of the world, but if you have a resistance band handy, that's going to be something that we're going to use in exercise too. So other than that, it's body weight. First exercise, we're going to do a reverse lunge to reach and then a reverse lunge to rotation in between each one. And if you have some balance challenges, you're allowed to do this next to something to support yourself, but otherwise, we're going to go into a nice big reverse lunge, going to focus on opening up that hip flexor and extending the arms straight up into the air and then coming upright, activating that glute as we stand up. Then the next one, we're going to lunge and rotate over the front leg, trying to look behind us as we do so. Going every other rep, reverse lunge to reach, reverse lunge to rotation. And to do that about, say, 6 to 10 reps, 3 of each to 5 of each. Doesn't have to take us very long. We're just trying to open up this hip and open up our thoracic spine a little bit, especially after we've been sitting for a while. Then we would obviously switch to the other side. One really important thing to notate as we're doing this movement is the front knee. As we go into this, we don't want to let the knee come inside of that big toe, especially as we rotate. It's going to be very easy for that knee to go inward. We want to keep it to the mid to outside of the foot. That keeps the knee in a happy place. It also lets us turn on this glute complex, especially the glute medius, to help us stabilize the hips as we go in and out of that pattern. All right, that's exercise 1. Opens up our hip flexors, wakes up our glutes, loosens up our thoracic spine and our neck a little bit. and it gets our core functioning to prep us as well. Exercise 2 is going to be a sumo squat to overhead band stretch. So you want a nice wide grip with this. You could also do this with like a dowel, a broomstick, PVC pipe, something like that, where we're going to reach our arms up where they're going to stop at our eye line. We're not going to pull this thing down below our shoulders here. That can kind of crank on the rotator cuff a little bit if we're not ready for it. So we're just going to pull this behind our head and then come back in front. Now, the first part of the exercise is going to be a sumo squat. So we're going to get our feet hip width apart, toes pointed forward. Sometimes people do sumo squats with their feet pointed out. For today's warm-up, we're going to get feet pointed straight. And as we do this squat, we're going to try to push our knees out toward our pinky toes and beyond. We should feel a nice stretch in the inner thigh. Then we're going to drive our heels down to the ground, squeeze the glutes, tighten our core, and reach those arms up and behind our head. Bring them in front, go into that sumo squat, feel that nice stretch to the inner thigh, and then opening up the chest. Again, we are counterbalancing that time in front of our devices, driving, we're opening up the shoulders, and we're working through the hips, activating the glutes, the quads as well, the hamstrings, core is engaging throughout this motion. Very functional pattern. So you see that from the side profile, going into my sumo squat, then driving through the heels, and then extending overhead while I'm squeezing the glutes. So I'm keeping my glutes engaged as I extend the arms behind me. All right, exercise 2 done. And again, 5 to 10 reps. Doesn't have to take us very long. Then we're going to go into a glute bridge. Now we have 2 options here. The easier option for this is going to be a glute bridge with leg extension. And this motion is driving, well, we're going to have just our heels into the ground, toes pulled up, and we're going to drive the heels down in the ground, squeezing the glutes and trying to get into a full hip extension. Then we're going to just extend one leg straight out, plant it, extend the other leg straight out, plant it, then drop the hips, rinse and repeat. So it's extension, extension, and drop. This is great for waking up the obliques, the sides of the core, because every time we do that extension, we want to keep the hips level, as if both legs are still on the ground. We're not going to do the extension and relax the glute and relax the core and let ourselves drop or shift our weight to the sides. We got to keep everything rigid like a statue with each extension. Now, the other option that we can do is a cook bridge. There's a couple of different ways to do a cook bridge, but for the warm-up, I like doing it where you have your hands wrapped over your knee here, because we can get a little bit of back activation with this. We can pull the knee toward our body and pinch our shoulders back underneath us toward the ground. Then we have that one heel into the ground. We're going to drive up into a glute bridge, still pulling that knee so that I get some good back activation. This is really good if we're going to do any kind of deadlifting exercise or power clean, snatch, that kind of thing, because it's waking up our back musculature as we're extending into that glute. Obviously, go for about 5 to 10 and then switch to the other side, activating our glutes. Our core is working same way because we're doing that single leg bridge, so it's working to stabilize those obliques. And now we've done those 3 exercises. Do it one more time. So go through those 3 patterns 2 times through, 2 back-to-back sets, no rest. It'll take you about 5 minutes. It'll get your heart rate up a little bit. Like I said, you're going to wake up your glutes, open up your hip flexors, activate your core in a bunch of different ways, work through some good ranges of motion through your shoulder girdle and your thoracic spine, and then you're ready to go and enjoy whatever exercise you have on the docket for the day. Hope you guys enjoy. Feel free to follow us on Facebook and or Instagram, or subscribe to us on YouTube so you can take a look at the 3-part series that we're about to do, all on injury rehab and prevention, while still getting the most out of your workouts to achieve your fitness and health goals at the same time. Enjoy.